Hi, I'm Mike Beliveau. Uh, I know this video is going to look a little bit different than usual, and if you hang around to the end of the video after I finish the regularly scheduled program, I'll give you a little bonus channel update and I'll tell you what's going on. So just hang in there till the end and we'll be good. So let's get on with today's actual program. Now, a while ago, I did a video on the guns used in the classic Western TV series, Have Gun, Will Travel. And a lot of you took me to task for leaving out some of the interesting guns used in the series, and I have to admit, I am guilty as charged. So I'm going to try to rectify those omissions in this video. Of course, I'm only human, so I may still miss a gun you're interested in, and if I do, let me give you my apologies in advance. Just please let me know what I missed in the comments, and maybe I'll make it good in another video. Now, as usual, I'll be giving a little background on the TV show before I cover the guns. So if all you're interested in is the guns, just fast forward ahead, and when you see a gun flash across your screen, just start watching there, and you'll be good to go. Now, what has been called the golden age of American television is generally recognized as beginning in 1947 and ending in 1960. And there were some great shows that aired during the golden age, but one of my personal favorites was Have Gun, Will Travel. That show debuted in 1957, and it was one of the new genre of adult westerns. Earlier westerns like Hopalong Cassidy or Roy Rogers or the Cisco Kid or the Lone Ranger, were aimed at juvenile audiences. And it wasn't until 1955 when Hugh O'Brien's show, The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp, came out. And that was a TV version of a radio classic, that we started to get into the era of adult westerns. And adult westerns really took off. During the late 1950s and early 1960s, adult westerns dominated American network television. And in my opinion, Have Gun, Will Travel was the best of them all. The writing and the acting were absolutely top shelf. The show was very popular at the time, and the quality of the show was such that if you watch it now, which I do, it still holds up. It's still eminently watchable today. Now, Have Gun, Will Travel did not shy away from violence, like most TV shows of the time. But, like a lot of shows of that era, Paladin did not kill without justification. In fact, in many episodes of Have Gun, Will Travel, no one was killed. The threat of violence was often enough. Now, Paladin's most used weapons were his black-gripped 7.5-inch barreled Colt single-action armor revolver and his Remington double Derringer. And I covered both of those in the first video on Have Gun, Will Travel's guns. And as I said in the first video, when Paladin used a rifle, it was usually a generic Winchester Model 1892. And that was really true up until the fourth season. And in the fourth season, that changed. In season 4, Paladin showed up with a new rifle. And it was not just a generic rifle. It was a Marlin Model 1894 lever action that had been customized for Paladin's use. The octagon barrel and the magazine tube have been cut down to trapper length, which is about 14 inches. And a platinum chestnut was inletted into each side of the buttstock, giving it a very distinctive look. Now, the actual Marlin Model 1894 was a lever-action repeating rifle that was introduced in 1894 by the Marlin Firearms Company of New Haven, Connecticut. The rifle was made to compete with Winchester's Model 1892, so it was chambered for the same cartridges as the Winchester, that being the 25-20, the 32-20, the 38-40, and of course, the ever-popular 40-440. So that was Paladin's custom rifle. And he used it in a number of shows. In fact, he used that rifle much more than he had used any rifle in the first 3 seasons.
All right, send her out.
Please, Paladin, don't shoot anymore.
And I missed giving you anything on this rifle in the first video, and for that, I should be whipped through the town. So I hope this makes up for my lack. Now, I'm also going to take a look at some other interesting guns from the show, now that we've gotten that rifle out of the way. In the premiere episode of Season 6, which was titled Genesis, we get Paladin's origin story. And in that episode, Richard Boone played two different characters. He plays, well, actually, in a way, three different characters. He plays himself in current time for the series. He also plays himself as a young man just starting out. And he also plays an aging gunfighter named Smoke. As the young pre-Paladin, Boone was armed with a beautiful Colt Richards model 1860 Army cartridge conversion revolver. And this is one of the nicest ones that I've seen. And obviously, it was an original. I mean, they had no reproductions back then. At the end of that episode, Paladin acquires his new name of Paladin, his mission, and from Smoke, he acquires his iconic Colt single-action revolver and the holster and belt rig with the Platinum Knight mounted on the holster. Now, in another episode in Season 4, titled The Road, Paladin uses another unique weapon, but this one's not a firearm. But it's so different, I really feel like I have to cover it. In that episode, The Road, Paladin is robbed of his money, his horse, and his guns. And he is forced to cross the Sierra Nevada mountains on foot while being pursued by bad guys. Even though he is gunless, Paladin manages to arm himself by making an atlatl. And that's a primitive spear-throwing device. And Paladin, at the end of the series, uses the atlatl and a spear to take on the bad guys with the help from some people who he manages to get to join him. So, believe me, an atlatl is not a weapon that you see very often used in a television show. In fact, I can't think of any other time I've seen it. So it's really worth a watch. In Season 5, there's an episode that's titled Invasion. And a character named Gavin O'Shea, who's played by Robert Gist, is a Fenian militant. And if you're not aware of what that is, that was a 19th and early 20th century Irish nationalist trying to get freedom for the Republic of Ireland, as it is now, from Great Britain. So the Fenian Gavin O'Shea in the episode is trying to organize an invasion of Canada from the United States. And his plan is to launch an invasion of Canada and capture the government, and then exchange Canada for a free Ireland with the British government. So in that episode, O'Shea appears to be armed with a British Webley No. 5 double-action revolver, which is pretty cool. And I say appears to be because we never really get a great look at the gun. And, of course, that's the problem with most of these old network shows. I mean, we're not spending time giving you loving close-ups of the guns. So I've had to look pretty closely, but from what I can see, it really does look like a Webley No. 5. Now, those were some of the interesting handguns that were used in the series. There are also some rifles of note. In an episode entitled The Fifth Bullet, which was in the 4th season, there are a couple of interesting rifles used by the guest stars. John Bartlett is a character played by Ben Johnson, the great Western actor. And Bartlett is armed with a Colt Model 1855 revolving rifle, which I just find these things to be very cool. Now, the Model 1855 was designed by Elijah Root. It was a cap and ball design, similar to revolving handguns. So it had a revolving cylinder that held 5 or 6 rounds, depending on the caliber. And it had an external hammer. The hammer was mounted on the side of the frame. It's just an incredibly cool gun. The originals, of course, are quite pricey. I'd love to have one. And this was an original. Now, Model 1855 rifles were produced from 1855 until 1864. And they were actually used in the Civil War. And they were made in a wide variety of chamberings from 36 caliber all the way up to 64 caliber. So pretty cool to see one used. So they do pop up here and there. In the same episode, John Bartlett's wife, Emmy, played by Dorothy Dells, uses a Sharp Model 1868 carbine. And this is actually a pretty cool gun because the Sharps Model 1868 was created by converting the Civil War era breech-loading Sharps carbines, the ones that used a paper cartridge, so that they could fire 50-70 metallic cartridges. Just very, very cool gun. Different from the usual Sharps, which we're going to cover in just a minute, because in Season 6, Episode 6, which was called The Bird of Time, a character named Stryker, who's played by John Hoyt, is armed with an ornately decorated Sharps Model 1874 single-shot rifle. And this gun was really gorgeous. Very different in its look. And something that you don't see every day. So there were some really unique guns in Have Gun Will Travel. And this is just a brief look at them, short video, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sorry I missed the first video. I hope you got a chance to watch these. So until next time, bye. So if you stuck around all the way through the video and you're here now, as promised, here is a little channel update for you. So you will have noticed a somewhat different look and feel to this video. And that's because I am filming it at my kitchen table, which is certainly not my preferred way of filming. But I'm kind of doing this as a proof of concept and launch this video, and hopefully everything's going to work. And if it does, you'll see a few more of these, because what's about to happen in a week is I am going to be going in for a total hip replacement surgery of my right hip. And because of that, there are some preparatory things that you have to do. And one of the big fears with a hip replacement on the part of the medical team, and should be on my part too, for sure, is the fear of infection. Because if you get an infection and it gets on the artificial parts, antibiotics will not affect it, which is probably because there's no blood flow through those parts, right? I mean, they're plastic and metal. So if you get an infection, which is the most common adverse reaction to a hip replacement, though luckily it's only like 3%. But if you get an infection, the only way to deal with it is they have to open you back up again and clean you out and put you back together. That is not pleasant, and that's not what I want to do. So because of that, the surgical team that goes over all this preoperative stuff with you, they have banned me from going to my shop for the next week, partly because I'm picking up little cuts. And any break on the skin, they want to see it because they may not do the surgery. And in fact, I scratched myself here on Saturday and immediately contacted them, but I couldn't talk to anybody until Monday. I had to have that cut, which is a little cut, evaluated by the doctor, and he had to make a decision as to whether or not he would still go forward with the surgery, which luckily he did, because at this point I am just about a cripple, really. My hip is so bad. It's bone on bone, and it barely moves without a great deal of pain. I don't want to complain, but I will be very happy to just go through the surgery. But I'm banned from my shop, so I can't finish a video that I was working on for you guys on a cartridge conversion revolver. I'll do that after. But when I get back from surgery, because my shop is downstairs and I've got to use a walker for the first few weeks, I won't be able to go down those stairs and maneuver around. So I won't be back in the shop for probably a month. And my office is also downstairs. So I won't be able to film from either the shop, which sometimes I convert to a studio for filming, or the office for probably a month. So I'm trying doing some stuff from my laptop here in the kitchen. And that's why you're seeing this. Now, if things go according to plan, I'm going to be recovering for a good bit of the fall. And then, of course, it'll be winter. Then the one thing they tell you is, after this, don't fall down. So, unless we have an incredibly mild winter, I probably won't be getting out to the range this winter. I'll just be, once I can go downstairs, I'll be shooting my air guns down in the basement for practice. But come spring, I should be pretty mobile again. I should be all recovered, and I should be able to get back to the range and get back to doing all the stuff that I love. So I have a whole host of guns to review at the range for you guys that I've just been kind of stockpiling. Some of them are guns that I've created for videos that now we get to shoot. Some of them are iconic 20th century revolvers like Pythons and Ruger Security 6s and, Ruger Combat Magnum. Smith & Wesson Combat Magnums. So we'll be doing some of those. We'll be taking a look at some holsters for, let's say, formal affairs. Some nice holsters and belts that you'd be happy to wear for special occasions. So got a bunch of things to take a look at. Some of which I may be able to do during the winter as studio stuff, but all the shooting stuff will probably come in the spring. I'm going to get unzipped and have bionic parts put in, and knock on wood, everything's going to go okay. And I'll be dancing across the range this spring. So anyway, stay tuned. As I'm recovering, you'll see more videos here from the kitchen, I hope. And I just hope you all have a really great week. And I'll see you when I get back from surgery. Bye.